Hello and welcome to Market Insight, your one-stop show for anything business related. Here we talk about the commodity market as well as the currency market and everything you need to know, in the market space. I'm Adesua Iramosele and I welcome you to the show. Today being Friday, of course, thank God it's Friday, we'll be doing a quick recap of all we were able to talk about all through the week, talking about from Monday till Thursday. And on Monday, we spoke about the impact of the increase in price of commodity in Nigeria and its impact on the economy, and we used the hike in price of soft drinks. Yes, we know that if you live in Nigeria, or Lagos to be precise, you would know that the price of soft drinks has greatly escalated from what it used to be in 2023 to what it is now, and that's about almost about 50% increase in the price of soft drinks, and that was really disturbing. We had our guest Okunade Sesson, who joined us virtually on Monday to discuss this topic, talking about the impact of this surge in price on the Nigerian economy. Today we have our guest, Dr. Francis Damboye, and he is a chartered psychologist as well as a certified psychometric profiler, and is our guest today on the show and is joining us virtually. Okay, I hear that he hasn't connected yet, but of course he will do that as soon as possible, and then we'll have him talk a bit on some of these topics we're able to talk about during the week. On Tuesday, we also spoke about the rise in cost of commodities and its effect on consumer spending. Now, this conversation was hinged on the news about the CEO of FMDQ Group, Bola Onodele Koko, who said that CBN would have to explore creative ways at which it can clear out the foreign exchange backlog. While the Minister of Finance, Wale Adu, also revealed that the CBN is seeking about $1.5 billion from the World Bank to ease the dollar shortage in the country. Now, note that, this dollar issue is one of the major factors bringing about the hike in the prices of many commodities, and so there is the need to actually increase our foreign exchange funds in the reserve, right? At the same time, the CBN is also looking to also, take charge of the backlog, yes, to clear out the backlog. So how do they go about these two serious issues that are greatly needed in this time? And that was what we discussed on Tuesday. And yes, so we will just be going on a quick break now, and when we return, our guests will be on standby to talk about some of these topics, and then we move into what we have for today. Stay with us, please.
The National Theatre, Igomu, built during the military regime of Olusegun Obasanjo and finished in the time for the Second World Festival of Black Arts and Culture, FESTAC, in 1977. The theatre holds amazing treasures and memories. The artworks fill everyone with pride. The National Arts Theatre is visible from the motorway which connects Lagos Island and the mainland. The National Theatre is packed with the artworks of legendary contemporary Nigerian artists, stained glass walls by Yusuf Grillo, sculptures and murals by Lamidi Fakeye, Erabo Emopai, and many others. It was put to full use for a month as one of the 4 venues of the Second World Black and African Festival of Arts and Culture, tagged FESTAC 77. The complex hosted 16,000 participants from 56 African countries and the diaspora in an unprecedented showcase of African music, fine art, literature, drama, dance, and religion. The National Art Theatre was built and designed by Techno Expert Stroll, a Bulgarian company, mirroring the Palace of Culture and Sports in Varna, Bulgaria. Completed in 1976, the building is one of the largest and most beautiful of its kind on the African continent. It consists of a central hall with 5,000 seats, a collapsible stage that can be quickly rebuilt, a conference hall with 1,600 seats, 2 large exhibition halls, and 2 cinemas with 800 seats each. The theater complex has a dressing room for artists, a garage, offices, coffee bars, and a buffet. It has indoor TV and radio systems, as well as booths with facilities for simultaneous translation of languages and hectares of large green lawn around. The majestic structure sits in Igomu like a quiet mountain, mesmerizing visitors and passers-by. The National Theatre. Souk Enlightenment.
Welcome back. You're still watching Market Insight, and we were giving you a recap of all that was discussed during the week. And our guest is on standby to talk a bit about some of this topics we handled during the week. Good morning to you, Dr. Francis. Okay. All right.
Hello.
I think our guest, all right, our guest is up now. Good morning to you, Dr. Francis. Welcome to Market Insight. All right, could you please unmute your mic so we can hear you in the studio?
Can you hear me now?
All right. So we were given a brief recap of all we discussed during the week, and one of the topics was on the impact of the increase in price on commodities in Nigeria, the impact on the Nigerian economy, and we used the hike in price of soft drinks, you know, as our anchor, as our case study. We see that in Nigeria today, that has become, in fact, if you live in Nigeria, Lagos especially, you see that the price of soft drinks moved from 200 naira as it used to be as of December last year to about 250, and now is about 300 naira. So we're looking, just talking generally about the increase in prices and the reasons, you know, for this surge, basically. And I would like for you to touch a bit on that before we go into what we have for the day.
Yes, thank you. Naturally, we would expect that prices in Nigeria today, given the environment, given the circumstance, given the economic conditions, that prices will go up. There are many drivers. Those that we know, very popular ones are, for instance, inflation. Inflation is extremely high, notching 30%. Terrible, terrible for an economy like ours, size of our economy. Certainly, there's the devaluation, the exchange rate that is impacting, and all of those are also driven by, for instance, the cost of energy, petrol particularly, and diesel. They are runaway costs, and that has impacted literally everything. Transportation is impacted, even service is impacted. Anything and everything is impacted as a result of those, if you like, cost drivers. Depending on what it is you're looking at, there are implements that are needed for that particular product or service. Those also drive costs. Then there's labor. Then there's the Nigerian factor, the greed factor. So there are a lot of things that come together, if you like, and they are impacting on costs, absolutely, particularly household goods.
Now, There was a conversation about the CEO of FMDQ Group, Bola Onodele Koko, and he advised the CBN to explore creative ways in which they can increase or, I beg your pardon, clear out the foreign backlog, the foreign exchange backlog, you know, and the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, also revealed that the CBN is seeking $1.5 billion from the World Bank, you know, to ease the dollar shortage in the country. Now, we were looking at how the CBN, you know, the CBN is seeming to be between the devil and the red blue sea, trying to clear out the backlog as well as ensure that we have enough funds in our forex reserve. I would like your thoughts on that.
Obviously, it's from what one understands, it's quite tricky. I don't seem to really grapple how we got ourselves into this situation. To be honest, we have to call it what it is. It is a mess. It is an embarrassment. First, we gave sovereign guarantees and asked manufacturers and asked foreign direct investors and asked other persons that are investing in Nigeria to come in, bring in their own funds, and they kept their own side of the bargain, and we are not keeping our own side of the bargain. It's a promise. It's what in Hausa is called an amana. It's a trust, it's a custodial thing. You made a sovereign promise to people, and when the time comes, we are failing them. First, I would say it's an embarrassment. Definitely the CBN needs to come to terms to that and solve that one as a matter of priority. Secondly, people came in with what they call, the CBN themselves call the CCI, the capital importation. Now, when you come in with your capital importation, they receive your US dollars, foreign currency, whatever it is, euros, pounds sterling, any other, and they convert it for you at the government rate, with the understanding that when, after you've done your investment, 3 years, 2 years, 5 years further down the line, you are allowed to repatriate your funds at the same government rate. And when the time came, they're not allowed. We're not keeping to our side of the bargain. It's an embarrassment. Certainly, they have to do something about that. What they need to do, they need to maybe get their own thinking, I mean, think way out of the box and do something to sort out this backlog. I mean, far it from me to begin to suggest to those experts in the central bank and all their advisors and all the persons involved to say, okay, go this way. These are the economic policies. These are the practices that you should need to adopt in order to address, say, for instance, the manufacturing wahala, or say, for instance, the airline wahala and embarrassment. So absolutely, that is impacting also on, if you like, ongoing processes, ongoing activities in Nigeria, down to simple basic things like farmers and that produce our basic needs, importation of goods. Nigeria is basically an import-dependent nation, an economy that depends most virtually, literally everything that we do is dependent on imports, which means foreign exchange, which means you have to source it somehow, either in the parallel market, whatever we call it, black market, or in the official market. So absolutely, government needs to step up, seriously step up.
The government needs to step up. We also talked a bit about the hike in price in pharmaceutical drugs, and that was really alarming because, I mean, drugs are basic for human health, and once that is not easily accessible and affordable, there is a big problem. And we spoke about it because Nigerians have called out, you know, some Nigerians with severe medical challenges, you know, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer even, you know, are finding it difficult to get their drugs. Now, isn't this more like a death sentence when you can't afford drugs to keep you alive? Now, we were able to talk a bit about it, but I would like your thoughts on it before we go on.
Obviously, it's life-sustaining. It's incredible. Drugs, as it is, our society, we yet to get to a point whereby most of our drugs are sourced within. We thank our local traditional healers and some of the ingenious ideas we have to address some of the issues here, but the vast bulk of all our medical needs are sourced by drugs that are, if you like, so to speak, Western oriented. Now, even if you manufacture some drugs here in Nigeria, and we do, and we raise our hearts and we thank the manufacturers that are producing some medications here, Western type medication here in Nigeria, still their implements, still some of those materials they need, still some of their raw materials and byproducts are imported. The majority of the drugs that we use in the country are imported. If you look at the pharmaceutical industries, take simple things like vaccines, children vaccines. There are over 16 different kinds of children vaccines, just children alone. And this is day old. From day old to maybe 6 months, 1 year old, there are over 16 of those. Now, when you take all of those into consideration, you find that there are how many children? Do the mathematics and begin to see the size and enormity of the tasks that we have. Now, that's not to say, I mean, we're not even touching other illnesses, and there are thousands of illnesses. So at the end of the day, definitely it's impacting on people. I mean, it could be seen to be melodramatic to say, for example, that it's a death sentence, but in all honesty, that's what it is. It is the survival of the fittest, and it's only the fit that can survive. Only those that have means that are able to maybe purchase some of those highly needed medication. You mentioned cancer. Men, the big issue for men are vast, for instance, prostrate. The same we can pick on any particular area of ill health, of our well-being, and we can look at it, and it's huge. So absolutely, foreign exchange is impacting on it. And the fact that we're not producing within here, the fact that we have energy issues, the fact that we have logistics issues, the fact that we have supply chain issues, all of these come together, combine together, and exacerbate situations that we have, and therefore are leading to unnecessary, needless death.
But what would you highlight as a solution, an immediate solution? Because Nigerians, are seeking for help desperately. They are in desperate need of help. What would you prefer, or suggest that the government does in this time to help Nigerians, to prevent them from just dying like flies by the day?
Yeah, I get your point. Unfortunately, there's no magic wand where we snap our fingers and something comes in and something happens. It will take some time, unfortunately. Now, naturally, it's been said before, let's beef up our manufacturing. Let's get retro drugs in. I mean, let's get licenses to produce some of the cheaper drugs here in the country. Our manufacturing concerns, our pharmaceuticals, they're geared. We need funding, obviously. The banks is not just a government thing. Government can create an enabling environment, absolutely, and we need that. But we need the private sector to come in as well. We need funding to come in, financing to come in, banking to come in, and maybe other FDIs, foreign direct investors. But the key thing is we have to be our own saviors. We're not saying that we reinvent the wheel, absolutely no. We're not saying that we look inward only, absolutely no. What we're saying is we just simply copy and paste. These models are there already. They have been tried and tested. We're lucky that a lot of all the production systems, the production process, the production machinery, and the entire value chain is already sorted for us. All we need to do is plug and play, copy and paste. But we have to have the goodwill. We have to have the enabling environment. We have to have government support. We have to have public sector, private sector coming in and investing and believing in ourselves and changing our economy. Nobody is going to come in and do those things for us. We have to now have a different mindset an orientation, and government has to be the driver. Government has to come in good faith. And when government comes in good faith, they genuinely, seriously drive that forward. And when they drive that forward, private sector comes in with their expertise, with their funding, and with their passion, and then we'll be able to seize the opportunities and save lives, as it were.
Indeed, that is very imperative. Now, I would like for you to also talk a bit about the global disruptions as we have it now in the food supply chain due to the unrest in the Red Sea as we have it. Now, what is the impact? Because, of course, the Red Sea is the trade route through which major food commodities are transported globally. You know, now there is a crisis in that exact location. What is the impact of it on our economy here in Nigeria, and how can we get out of it as quickly as possible? Because Nigeria is already struggling with severe inflation rates. You know, almost every commodity is now, you know, sold at exorbitant prices. Now, how do we prevent ourselves from being impacted greatly, you know, by this crisis at the Red Sea?
Thank you. By virtue of our location, our geography, to a point, I think we would not say we are insulated. We definitely are impacted because our raw material come from some other place as well. So the Red Sea mostly impacts, if you like, typically Western countries, Europe and whatnot, all of the 28 European countries and whatnot, but to a lesser extent us, because if you look at the route, the trade routes, goods coming in from either Europe, they can come in through other means, other routes. Goods coming in from, say, Southeast Asia, they come in via South Africa and back up to us here in West Africa. So definitely they impact on us, but not as much as they would impact on Western Europe. Having said that, naturally, it impacts on prices, it impacts on delivery timelines and dates and dates. It impacts on wastages, because some of those goods, they're time sensitive. So if there's a shelf life for a particular product, particular goods or service, naturally to impact. It impacts on delivery of subsequent services and or products and or, if you like, construction work here in us. And when there is that, then there are timeline delays. And when there are timeline delays, there are cost delays and increases in prices. Look at the road construction, for instance, the Kaduna Abuja road. Do you see the exorbitant increase on the price? Five-fold increase on that. Unbelievable increase in prices. So of course, there's the impact of inflation, there's the impact of foreign exchange, there's the impact of increasing costs generally, of the energy factor that comes in. Naturally, there's a profit factor. So it impacts on the trade routes. The Red Sea Wahala impacts on us just as much as, which is a security thing. The security thing also comes up and impacts on us here at home. Transportation of simple, basic household horticultural things, tomatoes, vegetables, and whatnot.
All right, now bringing it back home, how can Nigerians cope with this inflation situation as we are currently facing it? How do we cope? Because, and of course, is there going to be light at the end of this tunnel? At what point do you see Nigeria coming out of this anytime soon?
One of the things that I see and I'm absolutely impressed and admire is the people. We manage things incredibly, unbelievably well. So we have, if you like, a thick skin in that respect. Having said that, that's not to say that we should be taken for granted. There's a limit to anything and everything. Everybody has to know their limitations. And we are stretching our people, and increasingly our people are extremely resilient, we're extremely ingenious, we're extremely innovative, we're extremely creative. These are ways in which we have been coping, and we are suffering. If you look at Nigerians, the majority of Nigerians, sorry to say that they are emaciated. It's okay to be slim. Of course, we're not saying we should be overweight, but when you are dried up, that's totally different. These are clear indicators. And Nigerians have been doing that and have been stomaching this. We've been kind of people like taking on the burden, and government, I don't know what are the issues. We need to absolutely turn away, turn round the situation. No one is coming to. Goodwill is not going to. Prayer is not going to help us. All of this claiming it, declaring it, and hoping that God will wave a magic wand and solve our own issues is not going to happen. We have to, we've been blessed. We're the sixth or seventh at most blessed nation on earth. There are 200 odd other countries that are not as privileged as us. We cannot keep depending on God. God has given us all that is needed and required for us to get up our backsides and do something. Government has to completely take on. This government, the current regime, has to honestly be absolutely passionate, has to be genuine, has to come in good faith, has to drive things through, irrespective of whose interest is. If the national interest is at risk, we need to have that passion, that, if you like, patriotic spirit, and say that, look, enough is enough. You're driving people to a point whereby there will be civil revolt. There is hunger in the country. In this 2024, there will be extreme hunger in Nigeria for a variety of reasons. We need to really get our act together, get up our backsides, and do something. Sorry to use those kind of phrases and expressions, and do something to save this nation. This nation is one of the greatest nations that God has blessed on earth, and we are failing in our duty as custodians. We need to wake up.
We do need to wake up. We'll go on a brief break, where we get to show you what sellers of rice in the market, had to say about the hike in price. We'll be taking that report just now, and when we return, we would analyze it, still with our guest, Dr. Francis Damboyi, and we would, talk about this lengthily, in a manner that would, see to prefer solution to this challenge of increase in prices, especially in the Nigerian space, in the Nigerian markets. So we'll go on that. We'll go for that report and return. Stay with us.
Bag of rice in our own is 55,000. 55. Our own Nigeria rice, 55,000 is too much. Don't they say this 1,000? This one before now 250. Now 1,000 naira. 1,000 naira is 100 much. Make it help us. Now so groundnut for every day. If I sell her now, I won't go buy another one. Then go put money on top 4,000, 5,000, 3,000 every day. If she eat 200 naira, no. If you go buy me, go put another 1,000 on top. You not go gain anything. Why? It's 100 much, no be 2. Make it help us. 55 for bag. Foreign rice, that one don't reach 70. 70, 80.
Compared to last year.
Well, this year. This year, the thing where we sell a now, right now. So everything is too much. It's 100 much, no be 2. Make it help us. This one, you know good.
As at last year is just a week ago. We are buying a bag of rice at the rate of some are 68, some are 65. We do sell it 70. Some are, the lowest price we bought is 56, which is all this Pretty Lady, tomato rice, and some others.
Okay, so
but as at now, we are still buying the same price.
okay, but why?
There's no difference in prices now.
Why?
Bag of rice is buying as at now 68, because we have 2 types of rice, long grain, short grain. The long grain, we are buying it, let's say 67, we do sell it 69. While the short grain, we buy it 58 to sell it 59, 60. It depends on the companies. We have so many companies that are producing rice, and their cost of production is different from each other's. So definitely the price of the rice must be different.
But when I want to buy now, I bought half a bag at the rate of 35K.
Yes, that was the report about the hike in price of rice, and you can see the traders in this space, complaining bitterly about it. And that brings us to the news about the maize and paddy rice prices rise, in price in 2024. So AFEX has projected that the price of maize and paddy rice will rise by 25% and 40% respectively in Nigeria this year. The forecast was contained in the report, which was revealed on Wednesday in Lagos. In 2023, maize prices fluctuated greatly, reaching a peak of 550,000 naira metric ton in Q3 and closing the year at 480,000 naira per metric ton. The increase was attributed to decreased input usage and the fallout of the Russian-Ukraine crisis, and which impacted the fertilizer prices. Now, we still have with us our guest, Dr. Francis Dambuyi, and of course, is still with us to discuss this. Dr. Francis, what are your first thoughts about this hike in price of rice? Okay, could you please unmute your mic? We still can't hear you in the studio.
Sorry about that. It's a given that prices will go up. Given the exchange rates, the runaway foreign exchange rate, given inflation, given the cost of production, given the antecedent costs, for instance, petrol costs and transportation and all of that, simple things like you say, the paddy rice and whatnot. I mean, to some extent, they need to water some of the farms. The pumping machines, they're imported. Petrol is needed. Engine oil is needed. Labor is needed. Bags, they need to be produced in the production process, the refining process, the rice milling, the storage. All of that is logistics and other antecedent cost of energy and whatnot. So ultimately, yes, there has to be an increase. And I think the 25 to 40% increase, if we have only that, we're lucky, in all honesty. I'm not trying to be pessimistic. Look at the security situation. People are not even farming. So on top of all of those cost increases, there is scarcity because farmers are not allowed or able to go to the farms for security reasons. So at the end of the day, definitely 2024 will be a tough year for individuals, for Nigerians, in terms of like food security.
All right. Now, Nigeria imports about 2 million tons of paddy rice, on a year-on-year basis. And of course, most of our importation is from China. Now, how can Nigeria be more self-sufficient when it comes to rice?
By encouraging it, enabling it. I'm not one that is for banning of importation. We should allow importation, definitely. Alongside that, we should absolutely seriously step up our production internally. We should create greater enabling environments. We should stimulate younger people to go into farming. Younger people are realizing when you have a degree, and so what if you have a degree? Most of our degrees provide or produce unemployable graduates anyway. You're not skilled for anything. So, and even if you're skilled for something, we know what your salary will be in the next 30, 40 years. Pick any course in the university, and I will be able to tell you how much you will be earning in the next 30 years. But if you go into, say, independent enterprises like in the agro-allied sector, then definitely you will more likely be able to earn far more higher level of incomes. at the end of the day. So we need to create an enabling environment whereby we massively produce internally. And once we do that, once we encourage younger people to get back into agriculture, when you look at, there are 7 key core things that are impacting on agriculture. Mechanization is one. We are still agrarian. Why is that? We need to fully mechanize. Funding, we have talked about that, and lack of capital. The aging workforce is another factor which I just mentioned about encouraging young people. 70% of our population are all young and energetic. Let's encourage them back into the agriculture. Marketing is another. Storage is another, because some of our produces have short shelf life. Then the value chain addition is also another. So there are broadly 7 major things that we need to get our act together on, grapple with those things. And once we're able to grapple with those things, then we're more likely to be able to compete with the importation, the foreign import, in terms of quality, in terms of cost, in terms of preference and preferability of that foreign rice or whatever it is.
All right. Now, compared to the paddy rice and rice being imported into Nigeria, we have locally produced rice as well, and they don't seem to be cheaper. They are even, some are even more expensive. Talking about the likes of the ofada rice is even more expensive than the rice being imported. What is the challenge, and what can be done to ensure that at least the rice we produce here, we should get it at an affordable rate?
No, not necessarily. The means of production, the way in which we go about producing it, is mechanical. We're not mechanized. We're not efficient. So, as a matter of fact, we're not even effective, let alone being efficient. We're not cost effective. We're producing it at a far more higher cost in a longer time. Now, another aspect of that, remember, our rice is more organic. Understand this. There are hybrid rice, genetically modified rice, and there is organic rice. Our rice is better quality rice. We tend to confuse a lot of these things. We have far more better quality rice. It takes longer to mature, which means it's a better rice. I mean, the easiest example to give to listening audiences, when you have, say, a broiler chicken and local chicken, and now we have what is called noila chicken. That's a crossbreed between the broilers and our local chickens. Our local chickens take forever to grow and mature. Broilers take mostly 8 weeks, 9 weeks, if you are very generous as a producer. But then the taste of the meat, the potency of the meat, the smell of the meat, same with beans. There are fast yielding beans variety and more slower yielding variety. So at the end of the day, you find that the longer lasting yielding variety is better, is more organic. Our rice is more organic. You cannot expect it to cost the same as if like hybrid rice. Plus our costs and means and process of production is far more higher. So at the end of the day, when you're mechanical, when you use machinery, when you're more commercial, when you have better logistics, when you have better supply chain operations, better storage facility, less wastage, at the end of the day, you are more likely to add to the bottom line, to the return on the investment. So what do? We instead are using more mechanical ways and means of production. So all of these add up to the cost, plus the fact that our rice is better quality rice.
All right. Okay, so now, Dr. Francis, one of the challenges highlighted by the sellers of rice, that's the from the producers. You know, some of them complain of flooding and drought as one of the challenge impacting their harvest of rice. What can be done immediately, you know, to help mitigate or help, prefer solution to this challenge?
Interesting. You highlighted opposite issues and challenges, flooding and drought. Now, look at societies, look at cultures. There are some cultures, other cultures, there are cultures that have drought literally every time, 4 or 5 years without any rain. There are cultures that they have rain throughout 10 months in the year, and they have waterlogged areas. Yet these two societies, these two cultures of drought and excess water, they still both produce sufficient quantities of a commodity. Why are we making excuses? These are all situations whereby we can manage it. It's all down to us, human management, the capital, us, the desire to really genuinely, ingeniously, creatively address the challenges that are facing us. Take the issue of drought. That's actually easier to solve. We have underground water basins, seas and masses, hundreds of kilometers of underground water tables. What are we doing about it? We're not even exploring and identifying them. We know of people that have gone to different places, different countries, our colleagues, our friends, Nigerians, that can identify water for us, underground water seas, that we can address the drought issue like this, so cheap. And yet we're not doing that. Like, look at the drought, the flooding that we had, the Mambila Dam. For goodness sake, that is a man-made, that is a human-created disaster waiting to be happening. Okay, there are other drought areas. Our planning laws and our construction of homes and houses and where human settlement is and where it should not be for human settlement, why it should be canals and channels for water to pass. Why are we flouting those laws? Why are we not imposing and insisting that we abide by laws that govern our environmental protection? So at the end of the day, we are the creators of some of the challenges that we have. Other societies have far more bigger challenges. They have far less resources, far less ingenious ideas, and yet they're able to cope and deal with some of their challenges. How can we then come and begin to make excuses and complain? At the end of the day, we are the masters. That's the point I was making earlier on. When I say we have to take our own fate into our own hands, our own destiny is for us. We are the sixth most blessed nation on earth, and we make excuses. Our leadership is failing us, left, right, and center. Pick any level, be it at the communal level, be at the local government level, be at the state level, be at the Senate, the so-called members of parliament, be it at the senatorial, be it at the federal level, we're all failing society. We are not being good custodians, trustworthy custodians of that which we have been entrusted with. It's not about human intellect. We already have the intellect in Nigeria. It's not about talent. We have the talent. It's not about resources. We have the resources. It's not about ingenious ideas. There are ingenious ideas. It's cut and paste. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. At the end of the day, it's about the will, the desire, and we coming in good faith, wanting to genuinely take this country to the next level.
Sir, now let's talk a bit about what you attributed. You said infrastructure is one of poor infrastructure is one of the reasons why we have this challenges. But what concrete measures would you would you suggest, or would you advise the government to implement, or bodies generally to implement, to improve the efficiency and resilience of the agricultural supply chain? Because the government time to time talks about how they invest a lot in agriculture, but many a time we don't see the effect as much as we should. How would the government, how would you say the government should improve transparency and accountability amongst the operators in this sector?
Big question, very important question. Simple: mechanization, industrialization, semi-processing, full processing, the entire value chain. at the end of the day. Government, yes, will say that they're investing. Is relative. In all honesty, what we're investing is a pittance, is tiny in relative terms. In terms of one, the size of our country, the population that we have, the size of our economy, and the fact that we need to do a lot more. We are literally a virgin country when it comes to production, agro-allied production processes and systems. We're virgin territory. We are investing the pennies. We're yet to begin to invest the pounds. At the end of the day, in reality, okay, we can make excuses and say there's no money with government. That we know, that we have said, that we understand, and that we've been preaching. The private sector needs to be encouraged to come in with the billions and billions of dollars. We need to really have commercial farms. We need to really have proper packaging. We need to have really proper storage. We need to prolong the shelf life of some of the produce that we do, not necessarily via research and development. It's great to have research and development that will prolong the shelf life of, say, tomato or maize or yam or plantain or anything, of course, but we need to again have cooling facilities, refrigerated storages and transportation systems, whereby we can increase the shelf life and begin to reduce wastage. These are ways in which we can add value, tangible value, and be more efficient at the end of the day. So really, there are many ways, but the government creates that enabling environment and conditions. We, the private sector, we come in, and once we have those, then obviously we're able to, the banking, for instance, in all honesty, no disrespect to our banks, we are great. Apps in Nigeria are the best on earth, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, banking needs to step up. We are still at the baby stage in banking in Nigeria, as far as, if you like, big banking, international banking is concerned. We need to really, really, really step up. But of course, that is up to government to provide that enabling environment. Oversight. We don't have some of those that have been entrusted with the responsibility of policing, safeguarding society and humanity. They're not doing their work as they should.
All right, thank you so very much, Dr. Francis Damboye, for joining us on Market Insight today. We appreciate your presence.
Thank you.
Yes, that has been Dr. Francis Damboye. He is a chartered psychologist as well as a certified psychometric profiler, and he has been our guest on the show. We'll just quickly look into the currency market briefly. Now, the exchange rate in the parallel market, we have the USD, that's the US dollar, buying at 1,400 Naira and selling at 1,410 Naira, while the pounds is buying at the rate of 1,735 Naira and selling at 1,750. The euros is buying at 1,480 and selling at 1,500 Naira at the parallel market today, being the 26th day of January 2024. And we can see that there has been an increase, especially in the US dollar, because just yesterday it was about 1,375 Naira, and today we have it as 1,385 Naira. And of course, we all know the reason for this surge in prices, but we hope for the best. All right, on that note, we draw the curtain on Market Insights today. Many thanks to you for joining us. And of course, we'll make a return next week on Monday, and we hope you can join us then. We'll be having the 12 noon news, yes, will be coming up, which will be coming up right after this show. And after that, we have Sport Ride. Stay with us for all of these programs. And thank you again for joining us on Market Insight. I'm Adesua Eromoseli. Have a lovely weekend.